What is going on? And welcome to another episode of the You Want It, You Got It podcast. Today, me and Eric will be chatting with Duance Regretzky. Yeah, from Canada.
Dude, that's such a great name.
Yeah, not Wayne Gretzky, but Duance Regretzky.
Regretzky. Yeah. I think we've all been there, right?
I've had plenty of regrets in my life.
Yeah. Early young bad 7 had a bunch of regrets moments growing up. Yeah, on the streets of Nashville.
But hey, regrets get us where we are today.
No regrets. No regrets.
No regrets. Yes, I'm gonna get that tattoo right here. No regrets.
Yeah.
No, well, how's New York?
Dude, it's another beautiful day here in Western New York. I have to, keep saying that it is Western New York here in Buffalo, because everyone back home in Tennessee, they want to say, how's upstate? And we're not upstate New York. We're Western New York. So Western New York represent. Buffalo, the 716, my new home. It was breezy 56 degrees with sunny skies today. So better than your neck of the woods down there in Clarksville, Tennessee, man. And
Correct.
Tennessee in general.
Yeah, we've been getting some gnarly ass weather over here.
Yeah, that's one thing that I will forever not miss about living in Middle Tennessee. I'll forever miss like my friends, of course seeing you at shows, my family first and foremost, but the weather can kick rocks, man. I'm so over that. I'm done.
I bet. Well, you're done talking? No, I'm fucking around. Let's go ahead and get in it. Let's welcome our guest. All right. Everybody, welcome Duance Regretzky. What's going on, brother?
Welcome to the show,
Regretzky. You've been expecting me.
Yeah, well, I was thinking I was getting Wayne Gretzky today, and then I got an email saying that it wasn't Wayne Gretzky, it was you, and I was like, "Fuck." So I guess you'll do.
Wayne Gretzky in this economy? Are you nuts? There's no way.
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah,
you be happy you got Duane. I mean,
so how's everything over on your neck of the woods? You're on the West Coast. So what's going on the West Coast, buddy?
Yeah, I'm on the West Coast. I'm just busy preparing for 6 shows this month. Going to be doing two little mini tours, 3-day weekends to New West, which is right beside Vancouver, suburb of Vancouver, then Chilliwack and Kamloops, before I hit up towards the Kootenay region of BC with Enderby, Revelstoke, a cool ski town that's always fun to play, and Nakusp, BC, which is right in the Kootenays, beautiful place on the beautiful Arrow Lakes, and that's where my in-laws live. So I'm really excited to go and play music for that side of my family for the first time ever.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, for sure.
It's so you're mentioning all these Canadian areas, and I'm just like, it's all new to me, Now Eric actually lives close to Canada. On the other side.
Yeah. We're in Buffalo, so we were actually just up in, obviously you cross over into Ontario, but my wife and I are plant-based, so there's a great vegan community restaurants up there in St. Catharines, and we went and checked out this place called Rise Above, which is a vegan eatery on our way to IKEA. So it was like right in I think Hamilton. I think it's where we were. We were like maybe I would say a good 45 minutes, maybe longer outside of Toronto the other day. Yeah.
I mean, I can understand that because the trek to IKEA is like a Canadian rite of passage. We have that here in Kamloops. We see the IKEAs in Vancouver. You say, What are you doing this weekend, bud? Oh, I might check out Vancouver. I'm headed that way for IKEA.
Nice.
So that's good. Do they have one? Do they have IKEA in America?
Yeah, I think there was one closest to us. Like I used to live in Nashville. But yeah, the closest one was down in the outskirts of Atlanta in Georgia. So it's like maybe a 4-hour drive with time change, I think. Yeah.
Well, you can mark yourself safe from the stomach-destroying meatballs that they serve there, since you opt for a plant-based diet.
Dude, my wife is cooking the plant-based ones right now. We got a bag of frozen ones.
All right, report take 2 and call me tomorrow and let me know how you're doing, buddy. You got to check back in.
All right, will do for sure.
There's a sweet venue in Calgary, I believe, called Dickens, and they have an all plant-based menu with really good like fried beans that are kind of like fries and like meatless chicken wings and stuff. And it's a punk venue. They have punk shows.
Oh, nice.
And metal shows, and there's a big mural of Chai Pig, the singer from SNFU who passed away, must be 4 years ago now, something like that. So if you're ever on the West Coast and in Calgary, definitely check out Dickens.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I've never been into British Columbia. Further out that way. When I was in a touring band, we did all over Ontario, and we did Pouzza Fest up in Montreal. So yeah, that was as much of Canada as I got to experience.
So Duane, you obviously are from Canada. What was it like for you growing up in Canada as a young lad?
Well, I'm in British Columbia now, but I come from northwestern Ontario in a small town called Kenora, which is, you kind of have to drive through it if you're going east on the Trans-Canada Highway if you want to get to the East Coast. So a lot of people know this town because they've had to drive through it before. But a small town, a very much town with its own issues, but growing up there, I moved to BC in 2000. So before that, I was in northwestern Ontario, and I was running around the woods with my cousins most of the time, always living in small places out of town. It's always been kind of a drive into town from wherever I lived. So my early life, it was a lot of just like no neighbors and running around the woods and the riverbanks and shit like that when I was a little Regretzky.
Right on.
Were you into like BMX and skateboarding and anything like that?
I think the skate influence came when I started moving away from the small town, and I saw actually kids that had skateboards.
Gotcha.
I had a Razr scooter, and some kid fucking stole it, and I think his name was Ian. And I just want to say, fuck you, Ian. I know you stole my Razr scooter back then. So in case he's listening.
Yeah. We'll put some feelers out and see if we can get that Razr scooter back. I'll take a note of that right now.
I appreciate that.
You know, it's fucked up that you said that. I actually have a similar story but it was me that did the stealing. I was like in 5th grade, and me and my homies had this kid in class, and we went to his house and we knocked on his door and we asked his mom if he can come out and play. And she's like, yeah. And when he comes to the door, he was like excited that we were there to hang out with them. And we told him to bring a skateboard. And then we beat him up and took his skateboard. But here's the fucked up part about this story. That was in 5th grade. And I'm a little older. And probably 30 years later, I run into this guy at a bar in a whole nother state. This was in California. And now I'm in Tennessee. And I run into this guy at a bar. And he confronts me about this still. And I'm like, and I thought I was about to get jumped. And I was like, hey, man, let me buy you a beer, man. Like, we're kids and we did some dumb stuff. And I'm like, and then I thought about this and I'm like, wow, that stuck with this kid for that long. Yeah.
He probably thought about it every other day.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. And I feel bad. and I still remember the guy's name, and I won't repeat his name on here because he probably is not listening. But
Gotta get back to him.
You know, I'm sure
Yeah.
we've all got some Regretskys, but that's part of growing as a person, right? And come out the other side and hopefully do better.
For
I
sure,
mean,
for sure, man.
you haven't beat up any fifth graders and taken their skateboards lately, have you?
So anyway, what I just live right down the street from a school, but apparently I'm not allowed in so many feet from the school, so we won't talk about that. Anyway, so explain your style of punk rock, I guess you'd say.
Okay. Yeah. So I've been doing this act since November of last year, and it's still new. I'm still learning and kind of growing as a solo artist. I had a punk rock band before this since 2018 up until last November. And yeah, so I'm kind of feeling it out. I'm falling back into old habits, like the way I've been writing songs since I was a kid. But I'm also trying to explore new ways of writing songs and look at songwriting through different lenses. A lot of times my stuff can be like super wordy, and I'm trying to strike a balance between expressing myself the way I want to and boring people or coming off as too wordy, maybe focusing more on groove in some songs, and melody in different songs and words in different songs. So it's kind of somewhere between folk and punk rock and roll, the sound of one man's slow descent into madness for everybody to see. I'd really just have to recommend that people check it out,
Yeah, I obviously got introduced from Josh and the Trash Guys, and checked it out when it came out, and it was really, really good. I enjoyed it what you did. What made you want to go solo and do that?
The band had kind of come to a natural resting point, where it was clear that everybody involved needed a break. We played a lot of shows over, I don't know, 2016 to 2025. And I was feeling that. Everybody was feeling it. And I actually went to a show in Revelstoke to see my friend's band play, the Maroons. And that was a great time. We went and surprised them. I went with my wife, Kaylina. And on the way home, I was kind of just hungover and processing stuff on the drive home. And I was talking to her, and I said, why don't I just go buy an acoustic guitar when we get back to Kamloops before we go home, and I'll start a solo set. And so we, like, on that impulse, went to the guitar store when we got home. I played a bunch of acoustic guitars and picked the one that I wanted. I purchased it. I brought it home. I made sweet, sweet love to it. Then, of course, I got a nice warm towel, and I started to write songs. And within a month, I had like 10 songs and was ready to play my first shows.
Now, the album that's out now, was that recorded live?
Yeah, so it's a live album with no audience. It's live in the sense that I did one take on the floor, singing and playing guitar at the same time. There's no overdubs on the album. It's just acoustic guitar and my voice. So it's a very raw album, which I don't know if that's going to help me or hurt me in the long stage, but I'm working on new stuff that's a little bit more meaty, got a little bit of percussion and some overdubs. And that's the thing about me as a musician. I've always had a lot of different musical interests. I like to write songs in different areas. So you really never know what you're going to get out of my next album. It could be anything from the scale of like ABBA to Slipknot. It could be a French horn solo. It could be it could be just a 10-hour podcast. My next record.
Nice.
I know people are gonna have to check it out.
What about a ABBA Slipknot? What about ABBA covering Slipknot?
Okay, so played in the style of ABBA covering Slipknot.
Yeah.
What would that sound like, you guys think?
I don't know.
Fox News, probably.
I'm sure if we took that and put it into an AI generator, they would make us Slipknot being played by ABBA,
Please don't, because I don't need one more thing to think about when I lay my head down to try and sleep at night. Like, oh, like a turtle got caught in a fucking some sort of, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's, you know, using AI for this. Oh God, I don't recommend it for people to use AI for every, you know, stupid whim that they have, because that does cost resources to the planet, and those are finite. So, you know, if we're going to use the AI, I really think it should be for things that are maybe bettering our lives. But you know what? I will do the ABBA versus Slipknot thing because I can do it. I don't need AI, and I will hook
All
us
right.
up.
Well, then I want you to do ABBA in our duality in the style of ABBA. All right. I know Justin Bieber. No, Justin Bieber didn't do that. They had a mashup like 15 years ago. It was like Justin Bieber's Baby with like Psycho whatever by Slipknot. I ain't gonna lie, it was pretty badass.
That's amazing. I think it would sound something like, baby, baby, baby. Oh, I stick my fingers into my baby, baby, baby. Oh, until it bleeds. Ooh.
That's what Justin Bieber was singing to P. Diddy.
Oh, geez. Over the line.
All right, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
You just got a red card. That's your red. Went straight to the red.
Hey, fucking hit the Hortons, bud. You're out of here.
Yeah.
So what was the band, by the way, that you were in before?
My last band is called Let's Go. Yeah. And you know, it's not necessarily that you've heard the last from us, but like I said, on a break, we're called Let's Go.
Okay.
Is there anything online for as far as streaming or anything like that?
Oh yeah, you bet. You know, we put out we put out probably like 30 or 40 songs or something, a couple records. Our last record is called Smile. It's on High End Denim Records. It's Spotify, Bandcamp, everywhere you find music, you just search Let's Go. And yeah, I think it might be worth checking out still. You guys tell me.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm forever looking for new stuff to listen to while at work, you know, so yeah, I'll definitely pull that up. Yeah, I totally dug your record today while at work, you know, just listening in the old earbud and, you know, pretending like I was having fun and while at work. So thank you for
checking it out. I appreciate that. And you can just listen in those earbuds and pretend that Duane's whispering those songs right into your ears, baby.
I kind of got, you know, the hair was standing up on the back of the noggin and everything.
Nice. It's a very intimate record, y'all.
Yeah.
Check it out. Live from Death Mountain by Duane Regretzky.
Yeah.
I like what is Death Mountain?
So I live beside a city called Kamloops, and I usually tell people Kamloops. For you guys being in the States, I would like a city that's 4 hours from Vancouver. I actually live at a ski hill called Sun Peaks. It's 45 minutes outside of Kamloops. And the mountain that we're on is called Death Mountain. It's called Todd Mountain, which is Death Mountain in German. And they actually called it Todd Mountain in the early days of the ski hill. But it was changed by the owners because we started getting a lot of German tourists coming over here to ski, and they thought that maybe it was not working to their advantage to have the ski hill be called Death Mountain. But it is Death Mountain. I do live on it, and the studio I recorded in, it's called Death Mountain Studios. My friend Chris Rustin, he has a studio in Whitecroft, which is a little village close to here on Death Mountain. So that's Death Mountain.
Nice. Yeah.
So, you know, growing up, what kind of music were you firstly introduced to?
Well, growing up, before I had my own music, my mom, she's a jewelry designer. She's been doing that for long before I was born. Okay. She does glass jewelry and stuff, and she had her shop in the basement of our house. And she had one of those old 5-disc changers with the CDs right on the little carousel, and she would just blast her tunes all day while she was at home making jewelry. So the first stuff that I was exposed to is like Elton John, Annie Lennox, Seal, and then like a lot of you remember like the Women in Songs era CDs?
Uh-huh.
So lots of that stuff, your Jewel, your Jan Arden, your Tiger Lily. That was what was going on in my household. And then, yep.
I in the 90s I went to Lilith Fair.
That's what I was about to say, dude. That was like the sweet sounds of Lilith Fair, man. Right there, man.
The Indigo Girls and all that kind of stuff.
Indigo Girls, baby. That's why Duane's got a sensitive side. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All that hanging in my psyche from back then.
Yeah.
You know, me and Seven have a huge broad of music, you know, that goes through our head every day.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. I get the I can appreciate that. I've been listening to your guys' episodes, and I can tell, you know, when you talk with the guests, you definitely haven't limited your exposure to kinds of music. That's cool. I'm kind of the same way.
Yeah. Before we were talking, I was just showing him a Mazzy Star long sleeve that I had gotten a couple of months back. So, you know, music's music, man. If it's good, it's good. You know. So after listening to your mom's music, what did you get turned on to by TV, friends?
Well, there's one more step before that.
Okay, go ahead.
I've moved a lot for various reasons, and we moved from northwestern Ontario to a suburb outside of Toronto, and I was living at some relative's house, like my kind of uncle's distant uncle, and they had a house with a sound system in it, and it would constantly be playing like Elvis and the Oldies station. And her whole house, my Aunt Donna, was covered in Elvis memorabilia. So those years definitely got in as an earworm as well. The Elvis stuff, and also the boy band stuff that was really popular at that time, like Backstreet Boys and stuff. Nobody wants to admit it, but a lot of people, come on, you were down with the Backstreet Boys and Spice Girls. Not necessarily.
Actually, me and Eric can probably go back before all that, and we'd probably go with the New Kids on the Block.
New Kids on the Block. So some shit never changes.
Menudo. Come on, man. Menudo.
I've heard of this Menudo.
Yeah. They had a TV show.
It's not just a delicious dish.
No. He's Ricky Martin.
Yeah.
Oh, really? He was in it?
Yeah. Young Ricky Martin was in Menudo. Yeah. In one of the versions.
Yeah, because apparently once you either get like facial hair or your voice deepens or you hit puberty, you're no longer in the band anymore.
Yeah. Then you have to go fight bulls or something. I don't know.
And apparently they're still touring. They still do stuff. Wow. They're old. They have the older people that were in the band, you know, but yeah, they were like, I saw something recently. They did Puerto Rico but they're still out there doing their thing.
Nice.
Under the thumb from their oppressive band manager from back then.
Yeah, for sure.
Still paying off the debts.
So then, like the first two things that I selected for myself, like my own albums that I had for a tape player, it was the Bare Naked Ladies and the Offspring. So Americana by Offspring, and then the Bare Naked Ladies album. I think it was Gordon, maybe. It's the one with all the hits on it. And I just drove those two tapes into the ground, playing the Offspring Americana and Gordon. And then when I moved here, I started grade 8 in BC, and I made a bunch of new friends that listened to a bunch of music they let me in on, and kind of showed me they were starting to learn to play guitar, and everything kind of went from there. Went through a heavy Nirvana phase from there. I used to listen to a lot of Nirvana and learn how to play their songs, and just also a lot of local punk bands and stuff.
Was at that time of your life, was Sum 41 starting up then, or were they already big?
They were already in too deep, baby.
I see what you did there. Did there.
Yeah. You know, we didn't appreciate them back then like we do now. Back then, it was kind of like posers. You know what I mean? When you're in grade 8 and, you know, you can't recognize musicianship and you don't know what it takes to be in a band.
Yeah, for sure.
You would hear horror stories about him getting beat up at bars when they would come back home from tour. Like he'd go out to a bar and they get beat the hell down. And then he's like, we're from here. This is our home. And then you all treat us like shit. But apparently, you know, that's what people did. Now everybody loves them, you know, back home. So,
yeah, it's almost one of those weird things like my friend Josh is talking about. In some scenes, like they won't accept you as cool until you go somewhere else. And other people have kind of accepted you, right? And then they're like, oh, okay, yeah, we liked you all along kind of thing. I feel like it was a little bit of that and a little bit of us just maturing and stuff like that.
What were you going to say, Eric?
No, just like, I'll always go back to, my first band, Freeloader, and playing Nashville and trying to just understand why it was cool to sit outside and smoke when we played. But when Teen Idols were on and they were playing, everybody came in from smoking and watched them instead of, all the bands, it was like, God damn it.
Yeah, exactly. You know what, man? I just wrote a song about that. It's called Sucks to Be Cool. And one of the lyrics just talks about, everybody's, hanging back, having a smoke or whatever. So I look forward to showing you that one when it's recorded.
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah.
DB on YouTube said Scotty Bass and the Beatdowns.
Yeah, so Scotty Bass and the Beatdowns, that was my first band. Second band in high school. It was some of the same members. The first came Jake Straight and the Drunks. Hi, DB Cooper. Good to see you watching, buddy. So it was Jake Straight and the Drunks, and then Scotty Bass and the Beatdowns. This is when we were learning to play our instruments, and in grade 8 we picked them up. And I think within a year of picking up our instruments, never having played a show, that was when we played our first show, and it was a corker. So Scotty Bass and the Beatdowns was the high school band, and we had a lot of great shows in Kamloops with a lot of friends. DB actually had a band called Casual Warfare that we played. I think they played at our infamous first show at the courthouse in Kamloops, BC, an antique courthouse full of old wood, and that's a whole nother story we can talk about. But he had a band called Casual Warfare, and I believe their logo was a bunch of penises that spelt out casual warfare. So there's an idea of where our heads were at back then, and they're kind of like a casualties core band. And
yeah. That's really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I was about to ask if DB was in a band, and you already said it. You beat me to it. But so those were your first few bands and your first couple of shows. What was the next? What was your band next? That was a band that you just did everything with, like, what I'm saying, like playing all the time, traveling or whatnot.
Totally. And when I was talking about my guitar influences, I got to give a shout out to DB because he is an amazing guitar player, and he's always been a big influence on me, his guitar playing. But to get to the band thing, Let's Go was the main band. Like, I had my high school bands, and then they kind of dissolved a bit, and I went through a large kind of dark period in my life, and there was no there was no music for a while, and then I actually played in cover bands for a while, and I think just the life I was living, I didn't have the energy or the mental clarity to express myself musically, and so I still wanted to party though, right? So cover bands were where it was at, get to party, get a little bit of cash, more money than playing in punk bands, honestly.
Oh, for sure.
Unless you're the Fat Mikes or the Brett Gerwitzes of the world.
Yeah, right.
But so a bit of a dark period there. And then I started Let's Go with my good friend Scotty Bass. And fittingly, Scotty Bass, he was in the first band I had in high school. He kind of took a walk away from music for a bit as well, or played in a couple bands. Then we found each other again. Scotty, Dusty, and I, and Let's Go. And Let's Go is the band that did the majority of things, especially the things that I'm the most proud of in my music career, because I've done a lot of things musically, but not necessarily proud of them all, like I am of Let's Go.
And you said you guys have an album out on High Denim Records?
Yeah, we self-recorded and released our first album. It was like we decided to put out a single per month and held ourselves to it and put out 12 singles in a year. And I think that was really instrumental in kind of gaining a following in the beginning, because we were just spamming people with new songs all the time. And then we put out a record on High End Denim Records. And at that point, we were with our drummer, Will. Hi, Will. And we had, lots of great shows and just a great time, man. So it's all up there on Spotify.
Okay. Yeah, I just I found the Spotify link here, and I sent it on over to Eric. So you got it coming to you, Eric. I'll check that out. The name Let's Go, is that just a name you came up with, or is that like Rancid?
It wasn't Rancid. It wasn't the Rip Chords. It it was just the path of least resistance. I think drummer Dusty and I came up with it somehow, and we just went with it. And honestly, I wasn't super happy with it, but what's in a name anyway, right? If you're an awesome band with a dumb name, I don't think it matters. It's not going to change how good your music is.
Yeah. But I think it does take people like, I don't know if I want to check that band out. But,
Let's go. What is this? Fucking Raffy?
Yeah.
Now I'm Duane Regretzky. I had so much fucking coffee today, you guys. If I'm just like,
no, you're good. You're good.
I thought you were on speed, man. But it's cool. I think we could say those kind of things. Now we're already 30 minutes into the podcast. I don't think YouTube will pull us now.
Okay, YouTube. Cool.
I don't even know how that. I don't even know how that shit works. You know.
Okay. Is there the FCC on here? Or?
I follow them on Instagram. We're cool.
Oh, okay, great, awesome.
So you also do a podcast yourself, correct?
Yeah, I do. I'm the co-host since about episode 7, something like that. We're on episode 60 now of a podcast called Denim Radio. And that is a podcast that's hosted by Josh, the owner of High End Denim Records, and myself.
Hell yeah. I've tuned in a few times, and what I've heard, I've liked. And I've supposed to be on the water cooler talk, and every time I get asked, I always have something going on, but I'm going to make it where I'm off. I'm not going to have anything planned on a Wednesday for like the next year, just so I can get on.
Hey, that's dedication. He's going to clear the G-Cal for a year just to come on and do the water cooler. I appreciate that tenacity.
Yeah. And then when they ask, I'll be like, sorry, I got plans, you know.
Imagine you stood them up.
Yeah. Like, I'll be there, guys. And then I'll be like, oh, man.
I mean, it's funny to joke about, but as a podcast host, you might have had it happen to you. Like, no shows do happen to us sometimes.
Yeah, it happens. And I don't always have Eric. So sometimes I'm just like, well, I guess no episode today, you know, but like I do a few in advance. So, you know, I always have something to drop, but, so how's the music scene in your town, in your area?
Music scene right now is amazing in my area. It goes through ebbs and flows over the years. You know, like I said, I started playing shows in Kamloops, BC, in the year 2000. So it's been, about 25 years. And it's gone through ebbs and flows. It's had some great moments, some high highs. It's had some lows. But right now, it's stronger than I can remember it being in a while. There's a lot of kids that are starting bands. Like, you know, it feels like back in the day when I was starting my first band and everybody was so into it and bands were popping up everywhere and kids were playing in bars, even though they were 15 years old and everything. Yeah. And they're just living that life that I want them to have as a punk rocker and a musician, because it's been fulfilling to me. Like I enjoy the lifestyle. So it's really great. Lots of people starting metal bands, punk bands. There's a few venues now that are doing shows and promoters. Shout out to Loud Content and Kamloops, some young kids that have been throwing shows and doing a really good job of it. Much more organized and better at it than we were when we were kids. And we should talk about our first show later, the Courthouse show, but it's thriving. It's really thriving, and I hope to see it continue to thrive.
Yeah. And when you were coming up playing music, you guys were in the MySpace days, right?
Hell yeah, dude. MySpace was where it was at when we had our first bands.
I actually think that was the best platform for bands back in the day. You know, it was everything was there. Everything that you needed for a band was in that MySpace band. You know, it was so rad to connect with people. I mean, we connect with people still like on Instagram, but you had everything on that page, your music, and, you know, you can customize it to make it look like something that it's not, you know, like it doesn't look like your MySpace page, but, I think that was the easiest time for booking shows and, trading shows out with people, you know?
Oh yeah. I mean, think about it. It took networking between bands to just an easier level because you were doing it all online, as opposed to before when you were doing it through, either phone or finding, different bands through zines that were being passed
Yep.
out at punk shows, or, looking at the back of Maximum Rock and Roll and like, who's in Tennessee that plays the same style of music, or, so yeah, MySpace. I mean, the MySpace, I want to say, when I was in Blacklist Royals, when we started, we were using MySpace to, get a lot of shows outside of Nashville for sure.
Yeah. You were saying zines and stuff, and the only, the drawback from that would be is by the time that zine comes out, gets mailed to wherever, and by the time you got it, those bands might not even exist anymore.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. At the merch table here, sign up for our mailing list, but that costs money. Like bands are sending out, like little postcards. I mean, unless you worked at Kinko's like I did, you were having to, people were having to pay for that stuff.
You worked at Kinko's. That's awesome. You want to talk to the manager? I am the manager, bitch.
Yeah. It was Pop Copy is a true story. That's how we felt about everyone and anyone that walked inside the doors of a Kinko's. Yeah.
I'll blame you.
How long did you work at Kinko's?
27 years.
Woo. Dedication right there.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, dude. Props for that.
So Duane, tell me about that first show where you're about to talk about.
Yeah, so I believe this was our very first show, and we got one of our friends. This was when we were in like grade 8 or 9. One of our friends was a girl named Nikki, and she spoke very nicely, and she was a pretty young lady, and she managed to act as our manager, and she went and talked to the management of this antique courthouse in Kamloops. And, it's a full-on antique courthouse that's been left the way it is and kept in that shape. So there's jail cells downstairs, and there's a big room full of pew benches and the judge's stand and all this fucking old wood, right? And yeah, she booked us in there. And so we went there. I can't remember the exact bands that were playing, but some mix of the Sound City Hooligans, Casual Warfare, stuff like that, and my band, Scotty Bass and the Beatdowns. And we played the show, and I don't know, it just got a little bit crazy, man. It was a bunch of young kids. It was our first show. I remember one of my friends caught somebody smoking meth in the jail cells downstairs, so he grabbed an antique globe from upstairs and was beating him with it. I don't know why this guy was so against meth. I think he just liked beating people up, honestly. But that happened, and there's a little bit of damage and stuff like that. Maybe some just standard shit that dumb punk kids used to do, like bleed all over the bathroom or rip the paper towel dispenser off the wall. It was so dumb, man. And that was the reason for one of the lulls in our scene for years, because people would treat venues like that, breaking glass in the parking lot, stuff like that. As young kids, we kind of didn't know we were just shooting ourselves in the foot, and then nobody's going to host shows, right?
Yeah. And then you got to start putting deposits down on these buildings to put a show on and whatnot. Why do we get so angry that we want to rip off a paper towel dispenser? It's like, no, it's like, dude, I need to dry my hands.
The alcohol and the hormones were doing the thinking at that point, I think.
It's that damn Monster energy drink, man. That's what it is.
Now,
maybe a bit of meth. Maybe a bit of meth. I don't know. It depends what your flavor is.
I was just about to say Four Locos, but you guys didn't have those in Canada, correct?
No, but I'm acutely aware of the legend of Four Loko. I've just never had the pleasure of drinking it myself. You're
not missing out, but they are back on the market.
Oh boy.
It's probably watered down. It's not the same.
It's not, and it's the OG formula had caffeine and shit in it. This one here just had, I think it's just malt. It's a malt beverage. And they're 10% or 12% alcohol or something,
They took out the active ingredient that makes you want to punch your boss, or what?
Exactly.
Yeah. They took the crank out.
Exactly.
Biker speed.
Who had ever thought let's have an upper and a downer put together in a drink, Oh.
Yep, it's a story as old as time. So the show ends, and we go home, and we're practicing later at our jam space, which was our guitarist's parents' house, and they would let us jam in the basement and stay in the basement, and they were absolute saints to us. They're very good to us. But we're sitting there jamming, and knock, knock, knock on the door upstairs. Little do we know, his mom comes downstairs and said, "Hey guys, there's some RCMP at the door that want to have a word with you." And that's the Royal Canadian Mounted Police.
Yeah.
Those are our federales, basically, right? And so we go up there, and they're like, "Yeah, we just wanted to have a word about the show you played at the old courthouse there," and started listing some of the damages and stuff. And we were pretty tight-lipped about it. I can't remember what happened, but as a result, we called our next album Under Investigation.
Nice.
Oh yeah. Our other album was called Bitches, Coke, and Finger Food.
Hey, that sounds like a good time.
Yeah, for sure.
So when your music, it's what are your topics?
Well, like I said about falling back on old habits.
Yeah.
A lot of my stuff can be like pretty introspective. A lot of times when I write songs, I'll just start it like as a stream of consciousness, and then maybe some common thread reveals itself in which I can tie the song together with some sort of theme or concept. But a lot of the times it's kind of just like my internal dialogue and the way I perceive the human condition. But I'm trying, because I'm a multifaceted artist, I can also write songs about things. Like I wrote a song called Attorney at Law, where it's a song about me if I was a lawyer. So I'm trying to take a different approach and say, maybe take on some topics to start writing about before I just start spewing my rhetoric that I've been spewing into music for 25 years onto the page.
Eric, when you write your lyrics, how do you write your lyrics?
I was about to ask this question. It was like, what comes first to you when writing a song? Does like a chorus like pop in your head, and like from that chorus you can basically see what the verse would be leading up into, like what the verse would be leading up into the chorus that you've got going on in your head? Or is it something that you just throw down a couple of lines for, the opening, verse, and then build from there?
It can be different ways. Like certainly that if inspiration strikes and I come up with a chorus that I know is catchy and I can kind of hear it in my head right away, then yes, I'll try and build out a song around that and kind of reverse engineer it. But then a lot of times as well, like I say, I just get like kind of this lightning bolt of inspiration. As songwriters, you guys are probably familiar with this, when you can't just always turn it on and sit down and say, I'm going to write a good song right now. Yeah. And sometimes the more you try to do that, the further it kind of slips away and runs through your fingers. And then sometimes you'll wake up in the middle of the night with a line in your head, or early in the morning, and you got to just chase it down before it gets away from you. Much like doing LSD and having massive realizations about the context of the universe. You got to chase it down, but then before it gets away,
That's what's great about the voice recorder on the iPhone. There are a lot of songs that I would come up with, just driving in the car, and there's a, commercial between songs on the radio or whatever, and I have something pop in my head, and I'm like, holy shit, that's gold. And I pull out the iPhone, lay it down on the voice recorder, and then bam,
That's actually how I came up with the lyrics to Attorney at Law. I was driving in the truck. I had the idea, and I was singing, making up songs in my head. And I realized, well, this is really good, but I have ADHD and a bad memory. And I was like, I need to pull out the voice notes, get down the phrase right now, because it's not going to sound quite the same or have the exact same words if I try to transcribe it from memory later. So voice notes definitely good for that. Yes.
Yeah. I'll sit down with the acoustic guitar writing, and I'll come up with something like really cool, and I'll think to myself, you need to write that down or record it. And I'm like, oh no, it'll be fine. And then, 30 minutes later, I forget what I thought was such a great idea. Yeah. So
Totally. You guys can I'm so sorry. I got to run away for 1 minute really quickly. I will be right back. Just like 1 minute. Somebody's at my door. I got to go
You're
figure
good. Go ahead.
tell them to
it's
fuck
the
off.
Mounties, man. They're coming for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I always have ideas all the time too, you know, with songs. And the way I get an inspiration is I'll be hearing a song, somebody
Yeah.
else's song, and I'll hear that rhythm. So I'm like, fuck. And then I'll start singing some parts and I'm like, all right, let me write these lyrics down real quick and then
Yeah.
forget about them because I don't want to remember those songs with that same tempo. I want to
Yeah.
write them down, forget about them, and then come back and be like, oh, this is pretty cool, you know,
Yeah,
and
for
then
sure.
I can start writing off that.
My ass has been in a freaking writer's block.
Oh,
And I was playing the guitar the other day and felt really cool about what I was laying down. And then come to realize I was basically playing the same chords of Pull the Plug on the My Name is No Concern record. So I was like, well, this is done. And I put the guitar down and I was like, yeah, I'm not going to force anything. Yeah, for sure.
we were at practice one time and we walk in on our guitar player and our drummer jamming and they're like, dude, this sounds fucking great. And they're playing this riff and me and Mark look at each other and go, that's Set It Off by Madball. And they're like, oh, it was
Which
just
is
like,
also
it was
probably the same chord progression and melody for a Beatles song. So I mean,
probably, yeah.
everything's gonna sound.
Beatles, never heard them. I don't know. Send me a link or something.
Dude, they're not. Don't worry, they're not worth your time. They're not going to ever be anything.
Okay.
I was about to tell Eric, but you showed up. I was like, dude, what if the Mounties actually came and got him? And then we're just sitting there with this empty screen the whole time, and he could have been calling for help, and we could have been like, you know,
just never came back. No, I'm sorry I lied to you guys. I just had to go piss. You know, I've got podcast bladder. You know how much coffee I drank. You guys probably
I wish I just had a hose. I wish I had a hose attached to my dick and then the other side in the toilet. You know. I mean,
well, that's the thing. We talk about piss jug policy a lot on our show Denim Radio because a piss jug is the Canadian national bird. There's a rich history of piss jugs in this country between truckers and the Trailer Park Boys. I don't know if you've ever heard of those guys, but they've added a rich lexicon of piss jugs and piss jug etiquette to our society in Canada.
Nice.
So you know, if you're good, Russ. Piss jugs.
Oh no, I was going to say Sebastian Bach from Skid Row was on Trailer Park Boys.
He probably did some dirty piss jug talk on the show, but yeah, he had a great storyline on Trailer Park Boys where for anybody that hasn't seen Trailer Park Boys, because a surprising amount of Americans haven't seen it and people, you know, in Europe and stuff like that. I thought it was international because it's so wildly successful here. And I know they've done shows that they filmed internationally. But for anyone who doesn't know, Sebastian Bach had a 6-story arc where they like bought weed and then sent it over the border in on a toy train called Patrick Swayze. It's so good.
All right, so what show's better is Letterkenny?
I was about to ask the same thing.
Or Trailer Park Boys?
Oh, Trailer Park Boys, 100%. I don't even think there's an argument to be made there. Like,
okay. Yeah. Well, see, I'm in the. I've never watched. I guess it's just because we don't have Netflix. I mean, we have every streaming service but Netflix. So I
trade one in for Netflix.
Yeah, I might have to just finally shell out money for Netflix so I can watch Trailer Park Boys. But I was like, my wife and I, we were huge Letterkenny fans. We went and saw Letterkenny live in Nashville. Nice. Which is great. Yeah.
A lot of people do love Letterkenny in Canada. I watched the first 2 seasons and I thought they were really good. I fell off a little bit towards 3, but you never know. Maybe I'll give it another chance.
Yeah. I mean,
so are they similar shows?
I think in the sense that they're both highly Canadian, they are. But whereas Letterkenny is focused more on like Alberta, kind of Western Canada. In Alberta, that's where Josh lives from Denim Radio. It's kind of like Canada's Texas. It's oil country, right? And Letterkenny and Trailer Park Boys is all about and filmed on the East Coast and Maritime Canada, near Halifax, where they're like fishy Irish people down there. Like they sound like this boy, the body is boy, but they're fishermen because they live on the ocean.
So it's Halifax. It's Halifax.
Yeah.
Okay. I always thought it was Halifax.
Oh. Fuck.
No, it's not. It's not Halifax. It's Halifax. Okay. You're wrong.
I'm not the guy to like take facts from and information. It's well documented on my podcast that I just talk out of my ass. So, as you were, however you want to say it.
Hey, that's all I do over here as well, man. I had the opportunity to go to Halifax once for my job.
You mean Halifax? Sorry.
All right, yeah. No, anyway, but I had the opportunity to go to that place and for my job, and I didn't have all my papers done right enough time, so I wasn't able to go. But it was to spend the whole month up there training people for Converges.
Oh, for Converges, the telemarketing company.
Yeah.
So in Kamloops, there's a huge, or at least used to be a huge Converges call center, and I've had lots of friends that work there for sure. So
yeah, that's probably the one.
You'll see them in hell.
I worked at that job for almost 6 years, and
what was that at Two Rivers Mall?
Yeah.
Nice.
And after I was there for 5 years, I was invested in the company, I guess, or whatever. So when I left the company, I had money in this account, and it wasn't like a 401k, which is the money from Convergence. And I cashed it out, got $2,300, and went and bought me a MacBook with it. And I was like, it's not my money. You know what I'm saying?
So easy to spend because it was like kind of free money.
Yeah, that's the way I looked at it.
Yeah, for sure.
It's kind of like we went on a road. We had to go to St. Louis for a training for a month at another call center, and they gave us per diems like $600 a week. And, you had to show an itemized receipt wherever you went. So we're like, fuck, we're not going to use $600 in a week. We want to use this for alcohol and shit. We found this gas station that when you rang up anything, it just said grocery. So then we're like, bet. So all that we were just buying beer all the time.
Yeah. Nice.
That's a baby.
It's St. Louis,
That's awesome. That's a life hack right there.
Yeah.
That's good
for
stuff.
anyone that traveled, unless you have a credit card, because then it's going to show up on the statement,
No paper trail.
So have you ever been to America? Yeah.
Yes, I have, mostly playing music. At one point, I joined an Australian band, and I did Warped Tour with them in 2009, and did about 10 shows. Started in Vancouver, and then went up the West Coast, and ended the tour in California. Then I continued on to Nevada. Hung out in Vegas for my 21st birthday, and made really poor life decisions. on
As
tour.
you should.
Yeah.
What did you guys have a show that the next day?
No, so Vegas was at the end of the tour. I actually lost all my money, so I had to fly home like the next day, and the rest of the guys stayed for another few days. But
geez.
Like, I'm out of money. Some shit has happened. I'm flying home.
So when you did Warped Tour, were you like part of the tour bus crew, or were you van and trailer?
I was the van and trailer, drive your own self, and don't get paid any money crew for sure.
Yeah. Been there, done that. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Van, 12 passenger van, pulling a trailer. Yeah. What stage were you guys on?
Ernie Ball.
Ernie Ball? Okay.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes. So we traveled light, and the Australians, they didn't have work permits to be playing in the States at the time. They were vacationing in Canada officially, and we just did a little pop over. So we brought no merch with us. We brought a power inverter and a printer into the van, and we printed CDs in the van. And there's pictures of me cutting up CDs in the back of the van, looking all fucking sketchy. And you know, there were two Australian brothers that were the band members, and it was a crazy time with them, just jumping in with a band that's been together for 10 or 15 years or whatever, and brothers that have this relationship, and all of a sudden I'm just now thrust into it. The reason was their guitarist lives in Japan and he couldn't make the trip to do Warped Tour, so I weaseled my way in there, as I do.
So, and you know, jumping into a band of Australians at top of that, you know, because were they drinkers?
Yeah, they're drinkers, they were fighters, they were streakers. They were Australian, you know it, they're Australian.
Yep.
So I remember them having little spats, and like the one brother was fighting with the other brother. One's driving and one's in the back seat, and he's trying to drive with one hand and punch his brother with the other hand and shit like that. And
my mom used to do that. My mom used to do that to me when I was a kid, you know, trying to drive me.
Oh yeah.
I will turn this car around.
Yep.
So I have stayed in touch with some members of that band, especially Duca, the drummer, and he is now the drummer for a little band called Friends with the Enemy from Australia. I don't know if you've ever heard of them, but they're a band that I think is doing some good shit. Just put out a good album that won Album of the Year on a certain promotion last year or the year before. So yeah, he's continued playing, and Friends with the Enemy are dope.
Nice, nice, right on.
What was one of the memorable times about Warped Tour?
Oh man, well, I can tell this for your audience. I've told it like 100 times on our show, but basically hanging out with Fat Mike, getting fucked up with him and partying on NoFX's tour bus, waiting in line for food with all the other bands, just getting to meet band members, and you know, even Fatty one time, like I think we were in the line for cheeseburgers and everyone was hungry and impatient as the burgers were being cooked on a barbecue, and I think Fatty just jumped over to the other side of the barbecue, and me and Shad were talking to him. Shad, a rapper from Canada, and we kind of just followed Fatty behind there, and he hooked us up a little burger off the grill. So just little stuff like that. I mean, fuck, I don't remember much except the moments like that. And one time, you know, we were playing on the Ernie Ball stage. If you haven't been to Warped Tour, it's like one of the lesser stages. It's a semi truck that folds out, and most of the people playing on it have won their way onto it, like through some sort of Battle of the Bands contest or something. So these are like the local bands that are being given a chance to play. And, you know, you take what audience you can get as people are going in between the headliner shows. But one day, we just, for whatever reason, El Jefe walked up and strolled up to the stage, and we were doing our sound check, and Jefe helped us do our sound check. He fucking got behind the drums. 1, 2. And he's doing the, you know, like helping us get the levels on the drums. And then I start playing the crank amp they had on stage, and Jefe goes over and starts tweaking the knobs a bit for me.
Nice.
And I was like, fucking what a jobber, dude. Like, what a nice guy. Those guys all seem to be really nice.
For sure.
Yeah, that's right, man. For sure. Have you read their book, The Hepatitis, the Bathtub, whatever?
Crazy book, man. Crazy book. I think I read it, then I went back and I listened to the audio version because they read their own parts on the audio book.
Oh shit, I need to find that. Yeah. They came through Nashville and did a book signing. So like we went and we thought for sure that, you know, NoFX would have played Nashville. They hadn't played since the So Long and Thanks for All the Shoes tour. And we were completely bummed that they weren't playing that night, but they at least did a book signing. So we were able to, me and a buddy of mine and his girlfriend, got to meet all of them, sign the book. Yeah, it was rad.
That's a good piece for the collection.
Yeah, for sure.
You guys both have done Warped Tour. Now the times change all the time of when you play, correct?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
All right, let me ask you first, Duane. What was the earliest that you guys ever had to play?
Fucked if I can remember anything from that time, dude. I mean, I was a shithead back then. Like, it was always during the day. I can tell you that much. It was always fucking hot because it was always on like blacktop parking lots, and the only thing to drink is like Monster Energy. They got all these tubs of Monster with ice in them. And
Yeah.
it's just fucking oppressive on that blacktop. But I'm sure we were playing probably like between 11 and 1 kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about
What about
you, Eric?
I mean, it never failed. Like, I want to say the last Warp Tour that we were on, I think that was Warp Tour 2010. And it never failed. Whenever Against Me was playing, that's when they put us on. You know, we were either, 15 minutes into, Against Me set, or Against Me had like 15 minutes left in their set. So nobody and we were kind of like on that realm that if people loved Against Me, they would have come and watched us play. But yeah, I mean, we were all over the place, midday, morning, like right after gates open. Hey, welcome to Warp Tour.
And fuck, man, it's so good to just be there,
Oh yeah,
100%.
100%.
I don't remember being fussed about the time slot or anything. And you know what? I'm still kind of the same way. So a lot of people get hung up on time slots, but if somebody wants me to open a show, I'm like, sure, I'll open. I'll be done.
Sure.
And now I can get drunk and watch your band play. You can sit there and wait until 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock to play or whatever. Like,
yeah.
And really, the middle spot seems to be where you want to be. I mean,
for sure.
100%, dude. 3-band bill, play second.
Yeah. That is the thing, man. Somebody has to open the fucking show. Somebody has to do it. Nobody wants to fucking do
somebody
it.
Has to do it and not fucking cry about it either.
Yeah.
The amount of times I've heard crying about that shit. Oh my god.
I like the way you're thinking though. You play early, you get to start drinking, because if you're playing later and you start drinking throughout you're not going to start slowing down. So then when you finally do play, it's all shitty. You know what I'm saying? And hopefully everybody there's drunk so they don't fucking notice.
True. So true. There's got to be a mutual intoxication there. Hey, there's a name. There's a fucking song title right there. I can build off that, mutual intoxication.
So what are some of you, do you have like any favorite like solo acoustic artists, like let's just say like Tim Barry or Frank Turner, Chuck, like that whole like revival tour type like vibe.
So while I've always been aware of Frank Turner, Tim Barry and Chuck Regan are artists that I've only become aware of since I put out my solo acoustic album. I think Spotify came up like, if you like this, you might like Tim Barry. Or
nice.
I asked, yeah, well, fuck. That's a thank you algorithm. That's very good.
For sure.
That's very generous from the algorithm.
Yeah.
No, like my solo inspirations, I've honestly, right until I started this, I used to always tell my wife, who the fuck wants to go watch somebody play an acoustic guitar? Not me. Not me. So I never listened to solo music, but I've been expanding my horizons because this style, there is something to it. And maybe I just was too blind to see that before and too obsessed with different kinds of music at the time. But there's some Canadian legends. There's a guy called B.A. Johnston from Hamilton, Ontario, that is just a legend around Canada for his mixed solo shows. It's like a whole experience. So I hope to see him live soon. There's an artist called Ford Peer from Vancouver who's done a lot of solo shows. He's played with DOA. He played a lot of shows with No Means No with his bands. So he's got a fruitful and meaty solo career. I really look up to him as a musician. There was a guy called Mr. Plow who used to play in Kamloops. I think he's been doing solo shows since the 90s, but he's like Dave Plow is his name. And he was a touring machine. And there's just something really special about somebody that can whip an audience into a frenzy and entertain them for an hour by themselves. And those are some of the guys that I've seen or heard of that can do this. Also, Jesse Laborde from Vancouver, and my friend Colin Pearson from You Big Idiot, who I'm about to go on tour with. And Mr. Awesome from the Hypocrites. I used to play with him back in my high school band days, and now he's been doing a solo thing for a long time too, and I've got some shows coming up with him. So the people I look up to are the people that are doing it in the towns that I'm doing it, and the people I've been watching music play music for the last 25 years. That's who I look up to for sure.
Yeah.
What about Bryan Adams?
Canada formally apologizes for Bryan Adams. We will not let it happen again.
Hold on a second. So apparently Bryan Adams' second record was called You Want It, You Got It.
Oh, it was his punk stuff, man. It was his punk stuff. It's the best.
I need that damn album. I need that record. And I'm going to put it right here, and I'm going to have somebody Photoshop my face on his face, you know?
Oh, if that's your I don't want to say fantasy, but if that's your goal, it might be more attainable than you think, because my friends and I we're pretty busy with the Photoshop app, so it might be coming true for you sooner than you think.
Josh sent me like 30 pictures of the drummer, and
that's weird.
Well, no. I thought you got those photos too.
Why he do that?
What? I thought that was our secret. No, it was his face photoshopped on random people.
Oh, the drummer of their band.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's our hobby, is photoshopping Reiki and photoshopping each other, and it's an act of love. So if you get made by a Photoshop from us, it's like South Park, right? Like, you got to be just happy people are thinking about you.
Nice.
Hey, if people ain't talking about you, what are you doing, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, the new album is great. Every song was definitely a toe tapper. There wasn't a moment during the CD that I was like, skip or turn this down. Yeah. Enjoyed the hell out of it for sure.
Thanks, man, I appreciate that, because I put it out pretty quickly. I felt like I needed to just get something out, and it is so raw and stripped back. After I put it out, I was kind of like, I've made a terrible mistake. But I'm so glad that you got some enjoyment out of it. Cheers, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and knowing that was all like one take, I'm completely stoked to hear, like recording, going back, doing some overdubs, put, even drums, upright bass, whatever. Yeah.
You betcha.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm
very stoked to make it and show it to you, my man.
So I'm looking at I'm looking at this cover here. Now, is that a mount, or is that my eyeballs are not the best right now.
That's a visual representation of Death Mountain.
Okay. All right. You look scared.
I thought I looked scary. I do look scared. Like
you do. You look like you ever seen Pee Wee Herman? And
I have. Hold on.
Yeah, hold on. when they open up Mecca Lecca Hi, Mecca Honey Ho. Oh my God, yes, that's awesome. But you look like Jambi right there in there coming the sun. Like
that is a little Jambi-ish. Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, I'll try not to think about that every day for the next fucking 20 years. Thanks, Russ.
No, Jambi was awesome, man.
Mecca Lecca Hi, Mecca Honey Ho.
Yeah,
did Jambi fuck or what?
Hey, who was Jambi?
You know what? I don't know. Fuck all about Pee Wee Herman. I'm a phony. This is just art that my friend made me.
Hey, but the Pee Wee Herman, like Lawrence Fishburne, came from Pee Wee Herman.
Yeah, he was Cowboy Curtis.
Yeah,
Lawrence the Fishburne, fucking great actor.
Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah.
But
he's still with us, right?
Yeah, he's still with us.
Okay, good. What up,
Bill Cosby's still with Bill Cosby's still with us too.
Well,
over the line.
Hey,
does he still eat the pudding pop or no?
I'm sure he is in prison.
Yeah. I only know of like one solo artist from Canada besides Bryan Adams, and that is this rapper. His name is Snow.
Shit.
Snow the product.
Informer, boom, boom, the house. That guy. Yes, Alanis
Darkness?
Morissette.
Oh yeah, Alanis Morissette. There you go.
She's hot. You know,
Informer.
my friend, I have his girlfriend or ex-girlfriend used to babysit or nanny for Alanis Morissette.
Okay, yeah, no, Alanis Morissette.
Yeah.
She's a timeless beauty, timeless beauty.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
She
sure.
she gets better with age, you know?
Totally.
So what is your favorite Canadian artist or band?
Yeah, I mean, I've been kind of short-sighted in a sense my whole life about music, as I've always focused on what's right in front of me. So whether
Yeah.
it's local bands and Canadian bands, I've focused on a lot. So bands like SNFU, bands like No Means No, and bands like DOA, who I've been playing shows with for 25 years. You know, I just played another show. I opened for DOA a few weeks ago, and it's probably, you know, the 10th time I've opened for them over the years. And there's something really special about that to me, because I know the part that they played in history and punk music in terms of establishing a touring network between Canada and California. And I'm sure you felt their impact over there. Like, have you ever seen DOA, or was that something that was on your radar?
I've never seen them. No.
Yeah, living in like the armpit of the South, which was Clarksville, Tennessee, which Russ still lives in, and I used to live there. We were like in the 80s and 90s, we were completely like shielded from good shit. The only thing that we had was either on MTV, and thank God there was, you know, Headbangers Ball in 120 minutes. But we would see these videos on MTV and go to our local, you know, mall record shop, which was called Sound Shop or something like that. And I mean, it was just like top 40 stuff. We would never get, you know, what we were exposed to, like listening to the music on like skate comps or anything like that. Yeah. So yeah, the only reason I knew who DOA was when I was like in like probably middle school or high school was because of like Thrasher magazine or something like that, you know. Yeah.
That's how I found out about a lot of my music, was through skate videos and whatnot. But no, back to you though. And what about, you know, what about Propaganda? I heard they're a small local band, right? They're gonna be big one day.
Yeah, man, that's what I'm talking about being short-sighted. I latched on to the bands that played BC and Alberta, that were a part of the circuit that I'm in. Propaganda from Winnipeg. I'm kind of a stubborn guy, or I've just not explored a lot of music, and Prop is one of those bands where I've never owned one of their albums, and I know it's sacrilegious to say. People are going to come straight from my punk card here, you know what I mean? I hope Chris Hanna isn't listening, but no, never got into Prop. I tried to listen to How to Clean Everything once when I was younger, or like 10 years ago or something, and I was like, eh. And so that probably makes me a complete douchebag, but it just didn't speak to me. And I'll give them another chance. I like some of the songs off Victory Lap.
Oh, that's a great record. The new record is really solid too.
Yeah.
Completely bombed. They were announced for the Fest in Gainesville. I bought tickets for Fest this year, and Propaganda dropped off.
Yeah, they dropped out of all their U.S. shows.
Yeah. Don't blame them. I mean, I understand.
No. How to Clean Everything was the first album I heard by Propaganda in the 90s, and when I first heard it though, I thought it was NoFX. I was like, damn, I didn't know about this NoFX album. Was it like a side project? You know what I'm saying? And then still not. And then when I actually look through the fucking CD and shit, I'm like, totally not NoFX. Nobody in the band, you know. And but I like how, you know, their style is kind of staying true all over the years. You know, of course, you could tell they've gotten older and whatnot. But the new album has some thrash parts in it. You know, some thrashy intros. You know, it's kind of I got some chugs in there. It's a real good album. I've heard it. I haven't listened to it enough yet, but from what I've gotten out of it the last 2 times I've heard it, I'm really into it.
So is Rush for everyone in Canada, or is it just an Ontario?
Rush is for nerds, musical and otherwise, all over Canada. Yes, the Holy Trinity, Lifeson, Lee, and Peart. Yeah, I mean they still get huge radio play. The thing about radio stations in Canada, especially in smaller markets, like they're still playing the same 50-song playlist that they were playing fucking like 20 years ago on the rock station.
Hell yeah.
And Behind the Lighted Stage is on there.
Yeah,
Or you know, some of the staples are on there. So they still get tons of radio play, but Rush is a very like nerdy, like a boy thing. I feel like it's
gotcha. Yeah. They're talking about a memorial statue for Neil in St. Catharines that they're trying to get, you know, like financially backed or whatever. I'm not sure what, but I'm super stoked for when they finally get it. Yeah, because totally gonna go pay homage to Neil. So never saw him live. Didn't really get into him until I was I'm 49 now, so I didn't really start listening to Rush and appreciating them until I was probably 45, you know, so 4 years ago.
Are you a drummer?
A little bit of everything. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I play drums, play bass, play guitar, and I'm pretty good at all of them, but not a master of one. So
I hear you, bud. I hear you. I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
The first time I ever heard Rush was the Presto album, and I didn't even. That's before like I even heard Tom Sawyer or anything like that. And Presto came out, I believe, in like '89. It had like a bunch of rabbits coming down a hill. I think there might be a magician head at the top or whatever.
That was Monty Python. No,
I've never seen Monty Python.
Holy shit, dude! You got to watch the Holy Grail tonight after this episode.
But you didn't get into Rush until you were 44. So
that's the thing. People have blind spots, and that's okay.
Yeah.
You don't have to know everything. If you went down a certain path, that's fine. Like a lot of people will say, you know, propaganda, that's for the true heads. It's like, ooh, so good. But it's like maybe I prefer Silly Mad Caddy's record that I've been listening to since I was
totally
14 years old. You know what I mean? And I've sometimes not made the effort to push myself outside of that, mainly since podcasts came out. I started listening to podcasts when they came out 15 years ago or whatever, you know, Bill Burr's podcast and stuff. And now I just listen to podcasts all the time.
Yeah, I know what you mean. The only time I really get to listen to music is during my lunch rush, because in the morning time I'm listening to podcasts, but when I'm working, I gotta stay moving, so I gotta keep something jumping. So I listen to music then. I had something I was gonna say, now I forgot. Shit.
My bad.
No, you're good. It was something about we were talking about.
Rush.
For instance, like movies. I never seen Princess Bride until last year. You know, and I was like,
totally.
Well, and if you and now I was like, damn, I wish I would have seen this earlier, because it's a pretty cool movie, you know.
Fair enough.
But it's just like that with a lot of us. I'm sure there's a lot of bands that we've all slept on, and then, you know, because we were listening to other things, and then like I've gone back and listened to a lot of stuff, and I'm like, man, what was I doing? You know?
Well, that's the great thing. Maybe you weren't sleeping on it. Maybe you were just saving a little something for later.
Yeah. Because and now there's so much music out here, man. It's like I find something new every damn day, you know? And even Eric sends me random shit. It's like, check this out. And it'll be a band that I've known about for years, and they're huge, like a punk band. And I'll be like, man, what was I doing? You know, it's good shit. And I knew the name. I've seen the name, like Melancholy. I've seen the name so many fucking times, but
yeah.
That's the band I was listening to instead of Propaganda, because, you know, or is it Propaganda? Because, you know, that's what my friends were listening to, and that's what they loaded up my mini disc player with or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what I listened to. Lots of Millencolin back in the day.
Hell yeah. If you were going to be a wrestler, what would your walkout music be?
Oh, that's a good one.
I think I would just go with Shawn Michaels, Sexy Boy.
Would you do that? Would you do the strut too?
You know I'm sexy.
Yeah.
I got
Have you seen that
oh,
photo
wow.
of that girl that has a picture? Is like she said something about it's a picture of the old Shawn Michaels, you know, and she's like, man, what I would do to do whatever. And then he replies back, what's up? And she was like, no, you creepy old guy. He goes, no, that's me,
That's
you know,
me.
because he's like all baldy and stuff.
Yeah.
He looks
Yeah,
like he looks creepy.
he looks like a guy got to wrestle the shit out of himself. And,
Right, man. He's
lots of
slowly
painkiller.
on the way of looking like a leather bag, like Ric Flair, man. Like,
and then you got Stone Cold towing the company line in that McMahon documentary shit. He's still such a company man. I don't think CTE exists. He doesn't think CTE exists because Vince won't acknowledge that CTE
right,
exists. Because if he does, he's gonna have to go down the same road that the NFL did. And it was. I thought that was it was a shit heel move by Stone Cold to sit there and look at the camera and say he doesn't believe in CTE, but also it's Stone Cold. He's a wrestler. It's like, well, what a badass. I mean, he's still being Stone Cold. He was a heel. He was a face and a heel, right?
Yeah, he was both. And, you know, he was saying the other day, apparently he doesn't talk to anybody backstage anymore because he doesn't know anybody anymore because everybody he came up with is done gone, you know. And he was at Mania this year, and he ran a 4-wheeler into the barricade, and this woman fell down, and he was just like, are you okay? And then he gets up and runs into the ring. But apparently that was the second time he wrecked that thing because on the way to the ring, he missed the ramp to come up to the platform, and he misses it and runs into the side of it. And has to reverse it. And then I'm like, it was Stone Cold. He was probably drunk, you know? But
right. Okay. See, I need to watch the last Mania now. Like, that sounds amazing. Stone Cold's running an ATV into fans. I gotta see.
Oh yeah, and then they're like, you know, everything on the internet. Does WWE get sued? You know, but they probably gave this woman lifetime tickets. You know, we'll let you to go backstage after Mania. You can meet all the wrestlers. You know, she's probably okay.
Totally. I can tell you the exact moment I stopped watching wrestling when I was a kid.
What was that?
It was during some like Kane versus JR feud, like the announcer. And like I remember Kane had him down and he poured gasoline on him and lit him on fire. And I was just like, oh man, this is changing.
Not JR. Hey, I bet you. Hey, I wonder if he had his barbecue company yet. If JR had his barbecue sauce yet.
Oh, that was the brand launching. JR. Oh, that's bad.
He's like, holy shit, JR's barbecue. Yeah.
just stroking on the sauce onto him with one of those little plastic doohickeys.
Yeah. You know, you said funny about Kane. Kane was actually the county mayor from up the road here from me in Tennessee.
Oh, that's by you. I knew he was the mayor. Yeah, but that's cool. So what's people's
Knoxville
opinion there? What was people's public opinion? Nothing.
I don't know up there. Yeah. All I know is he got he did 2 times. He had 2 runs. So I guess they liked him, you know. He said in his office building, he can look out his window and see the first place he ever wrestled in right across the street. And I'm like, well, that's kind of cool. You know, you get to see.
Nice.
Yeah. But apparently one of the wrestlers recently said that, you know, back in the day when she would work with him, he was one of the coolest dudes. And then he became all political and he became strange and weird. And I was like, well, wasn't he already strange and weird already? You know?
Yeah.
So what's even scarier than a wrestler with a gimmick where he came from hell and has a disfigured face and can shoot fire out of the turnbuckles? What's scarier than that? A local politician, a municipal government. That's what's scary.
Yeah. I think the politician's scarier. 100%.
Why hasn't everyone ever been a politician as a wrestler? You know,
that'd be a great gimmick.
Yeah, you could have like Paul Heyman could technically be like the Oompa Loompa guy, you know what I'm saying? He could come out looking like.
Well, we had IRS back in the WWF days. Remember IRS?
Was he a tax man?
Yeah.
It was totally a tax man. He was like, he said, "You never underestimate the tax man" or something.
Yeah, he was like tag team with the Big Boss Man, I think.
That's what we need back in our lives is fucking characters like that. That's funny because for a while I've had an idea for like a Ramones core punk band, but it's like accountant core. So like all the songs would be like, I'll give you the T4 to my heart, or what do they call it? A W9 in the States. You got the W9 in my heart, or just things along these lines, like what I said, but better. But and then like you could have someone going around the audience like auditing them with a calculator and stuff.
Nice. Yeah.
That's
like
when
you're about to buy some
IRS.
When you're buying the merch, you're like, hold on a second.
Yeah.
It says here you can buy this shirt,
And we would all wear the little green adding visors that accountants wore in movies for some reason all the time. I don't know why, but we would all wear those
visors. Yeah.
Taped up. Is there somebody like sharpening pencils really violently above their head or something? They need something to just get it to go off of the sides.
You said that you're talking about that with the Ramones thing. There's a band called the Misfits, and they do Misfits covers, but they changed the lyrics into eating terms.
And aren't they all like big dudes?
Yeah, and they're all big dudes, and they all have like the devil's lock, and they don't wear any shirts and shit. The
That's
Misfats.
amazing. I'd probably rather see Misfats at this point. I don't know.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah, for sure. Then
I can relate to them a little more,
Boys, one sec. I got to run back. Please hold that thought. Somebody's at my front door, dude. They're knocking. It could be the cops. I got to get rid of these guys. Okay. I apologize.
Oh yeah.
Be right back.
I just ate a whole bag of gummy bears.
Oh, dude.
And I just realized I shouldn't have, because I got to get my blood sugar checked tomorrow.
Jesus.
I was like, dude, I was stress eating last night, and I was just like, I didn't even think about that. Fuck. Oh well, because it's kind of like this. When I go to the doctor to get my levels checked, I'm like, all right, I need to stop eating a lot of sugar. Like I still eat a little bit of sugar, but not as much as I used to. I just quit for a day or a couple days, so then it goes down, and then when I go to there, and they're like, "Oh, you're doing great, Mr. Cantwell," and I'm like, "Thanks, Doc." And then I leave, and I'm like, "Slurpee,"
Right. Yeah. That reminds me, I have to go get my teeth cleaned on like Tuesday, so I guess I need to start flossing tonight. So
make yourself look good, Yeah. They
really
know.
Flossing. Yeah. I take care of my teeth. Yeah. All five.
I remember one time I went to the dentist, and they're like, "Your teeth are beautiful," and I was like, "Really? I don't do shit to them. I am the worst person about taking care of my teeth. You have good teeth. I have fucked up teeth. Like I probably should have had braces as a kid, but nope."
Yeah.
So he's out there doing. Do you have any wanting to do solo like acoustic shit?
I've thought about it, man. Because I don't know if it's just that I'm lazy, and I don't want to try to find, a band. But yeah, I mean, I'll probably get a band now that we're getting ready to move into the house. I've got a bass player. Just got to find a drummer that can do the fucking, smelly no effects drum beat, man. And that, yeah.
It's talking about him. It was gnarly to see their 2-day set list with like 40 fucking songs or 30 something songs each night. And that motherfucker just destroys them drums every fucking night, dude. I'm like, holy. And they weren't doing like Metallica taking a day off. They're playing Saturday, Sunday back to back.
Yeah, for sure.
But then they take 2 weeks off, and then they had another, Punk and Drublic one. But I was watching him on one of these videos, and he's just fucking killing that drum set, dude.
Just the way, watching Bill Stevenson of the Descendants play these days. It's just
he's what, 62?
What's that?
He's like 62 years old now.
Yeah. He's
powerhouse.
He's a machine, man. He's just a machine for sure.
And he's not a small kid either. He's a bigger guy.
Yeah.
And when you watch him play, he's always just like smiling, joking around, like it's just like. I can pretend like I can play drums, but I can't.
I've got a great acoustic guitar, so I might try to do the whole acoustic.
There's enough people playing acoustic guitars, bud. Don't worry about it.
I think I lost my ukulele in the move from Nashville, so I might do the ukulele too. So once we move into the new house next month, I'll empty out all of these boxes that haven't been emptied and see if my uke's in there. So
that's already taken. Somebody already has that. You guys.
Yeah, but they don't have my songs on it.
What about a kazoo? What about a kazoo?
The same kid that's got my fucking Razr scooter probably has your ukulele.
Probably, yeah. It's probably Russ.
Yeah, it's probably fucking Russ.
Yeah, beating up kids,
dude,
taking skateboards, Razr scooters, and my uke, man.
Yeah. Hey, when you guys get off, it's gonna be like me, just like playing a uke, just playing, push on the scooter, you know.
Yeah. Oh yeah, all at once.
That sounds like an ingredient for a Photoshop Russ attitude.
Oh man. So Eric, you know what time it is?
Question time?
Question time.
All right.
Now, I asked a few questions at the end of certain podcasts, and some of these questions I do ask are Eric's questions, and I do him the honor when he's not here. But I'm gonna let him ask the questions today, and I'm still gonna be listening. But somebody's at my door. I'll be right back.
All right.
Fair.
All right. So check it out. So I got this one right here. You've been writing songs for a while. What is your favorite song that you have written, and what's your favorite song that you wish you would have written?
Okay. Favorite song that I've written. Honestly, man, the last song that I've written, every last song that I've written is my favorite song that I've ever written, because I get so much from the process of making a song and seeing it through to a recording that I'm happy with, playing it live. When I'm writing songs, I'm in my element. I'm in a state of bliss. I mean, like, other than maybe drugs or alcohol or being around the people that I really care for, writing songs makes me feel better than anything else. So the last song I wrote is the answer, and it'll always be the answer if you ask me, right? Because I'm not one song specifically. I think people understand.
I dig that. Yeah, for sure.
That's my favorite song I ever wrote. Hope that was okay there, Russ. You dealt with the person at the door there.
Yeah, it was the wrong house.
Nice.
Yeah, it happens. And then song that I wish I wrote. I don't have a song that I wish I wrote, and instead I'll just give some advice to aspiring songwriters. Is it's okay to be inspired by people, but don't put yourself in a box, and do whatever makes you happy, and write whatever you want to write, play whatever kind of music you want to write, include whatever elements you want to include, because nobody can ever accuse you of trying to steal somebody else's gimmick when you just do your own gimmick. And that's what people are going to connect with the most anyway. Yeah. So if anything, I wish that I started taking music more serious at a younger age. For many, many years, as I'm sure is the story with many musicians, like the party was first and then the music was kind of secondary. But now as I'm getting older, I'm spending my time with music. I'm taking it more seriously, not getting as fucked up before shows as I used to.
I myself wish I would have Eric,
thank you.
I wish I would have started a band or gotten in a band or was interested in playing music when I was in like high school or whatnot. Yeah. I actually didn't join my first band till I was 28 or 29, but I'm glad I did. I got that experience, because it's an experience that I wish everybody could experience at least once, because it's fun. It's good times, hanging out with your boys, and you guys are just in a room, just chilling, jamming. And then you guys go play shows together and travel together. It's just good times, man. And I wish everybody could experience that in some little ways.
It's teaching you a new language. It's teaching you a new language of a way to talk to people. It's teaching you a new language emotionally to engage with music and to write and play music. Mm-hmm. It's like, think about how many music is the only international language. Everybody speaks it. It doesn't matter what side of the planet you're from or what language you speak. If you can play 12-bar blues, you can be sat in a room with anybody, or if you can play a 3-chord Ramones progression, you can get in a room with somebody that speaks a different language and you've never met, and you can start jamming with them. And, you can communicate that way, and you can start relationships with people about music, over music. And it's opened a lot of doors for me in my life. I'm not sure they were all there. Most of them were good doors. So it's definitely something I recommend. And that's why we try to play all ages shows when we can, right? Is to show the younger kids that it is a lifestyle and that it's possible.
Yep.
Right on. Cool. Yeah. So, okay. I don't know if you've heard this question before. You've already done Warped Tour. But yeah, my second question that I came up with was, you could do 2 summer tours. You could do 1 tour where you're opening up for your favorite band throughout, a whole summer tour, or you could do the Warped Tour. Which one would you do?
Well, if you had asked me when I was younger, I probably would have jumped at the big opportunity at Warped Tour. But the older I get, and the more time I spend playing music, I realize I would rather play with my friends, because at least I know I'm going to have a good time with them at the show, and we're going to hang out and have fun. The audiences can be hit and miss no matter what. No matter what show you're going to. Maybe a Warped Tour is an exception because it's a big show, but when you make your decisions, from the viewpoint of I want to play the biggest shows only, sometimes what if you get there and you're touring with a band and you don't really get along and you're not having fun, and then it's like work all of a sudden, So I think I would say opening for my favorite artist. I would take that one.
Nice.
And who is your favorite artist?
Who would it be?
Who would that artist be?
What's your band's name, Eric?
You would open up for No Concern. All right, cool.
Yeah, I think I would like to open for No Concern on a tour. Yes.
Nice.
That was good.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So it's the connections I'm finding. It's easy as a musician to obsess about putting out the best product and about playing the biggest shows and getting the most quote unquote success in show business. But I'm finding more and more that the music is almost secondary to the community that surrounds it and the chance that it gives us to make connections with other people and improve each other's lives. And I know it's no groundbreaking thing. Like I've heard other people on your show talking about it even, but it just becomes more apparent to me as I get older. And it's good stuff.
Right on. Who would you say is like who's your favorite songwriter?
Favorite songwriter?
Like
I can name him. Yeah, Ford Pierce, my favorite songwriter. He, of course, took huge influence from the Canadian band No Means No. I would venture a guess, but Ford Pierce, a great songwriter. The local music scene, like I said, I'm 4 hours from Vancouver, and I've made a lot of friends that play music there, and some of them are just like the craziest songwriters I've ever heard. There's so much talent in every city you go to. And even people that could be so talented songwriters, but they don't even play shows. They're in their basement doing it somewhere. Like people never cease to surprise me with the quality of songs that people can write. I mean, they're not all going to be great, right? You certainly get the opposite end of the spectrum too sometimes. But 6 out of 10 ain't bad boys. You know what I mean? 6 and 1/2 dozen in the other.
Yeah.
Well. Anything you want to ask myself or Eric?
Yeah. I mean, I've heard you guys talk about your bands before, but I never quite catch the name, so I know yours now. And Russ, I've heard it a few times, but you were the singer for a band, and it sounds like you maybe played bass for a band too, or what?
Yeah, I was a singer for a band. I was a bass player for a band first called Take It Under, and we were together for about 17 years. And then at the beginning of that time, another band was starting off locally called Guerrilla Warfare. And I started off as the bass player in that band. And then I switched over to second vocals and did that for a while. And then my band was getting too busy. So I had to focus, I had to let go of that project and focus on my band. Well, then my band years later splits up, gets back together. And this last time around, when we finally stopped playing, Guerrilla Warfare was looking for a bass player again. And I was like, I'll tell you what, I'll fill in for a little bit until you guys find somebody. And that led to me never leaving the band, switching back over to second vocals. I did that for about 2 years. And I had some changes in my life happen, and I had quit music for a while, and it's been almost 3 years now that I haven't been doing music. Holy shit.
Okay.
So
Did you guys tour the States in that time as well?
Taken Under did. We did this area here, Tennessee, Kentucky, Alabama, that area. And then Guerrilla Warfare, we just played, locally in Nashville. And the last time I actually saw Eric was at this show, and it was December 2019 in Nashville, and we were opening up for Agnostic Front and Slapshot.
Oh, that was a great show.
Really great show.
Yeah.
Nice.
But those are my bands. Guerrilla Warfare and Taken Under were my bands. Taken Under is my baby. Like, if I can get that band back together tomorrow, I would do it in a heartbeat. So
nice. Yeah.
Even if it was some sort of like Pet Cemetery situation where sometimes dad is better. Well, yeah, you'll have to take me to hardcore school one day because I'm a hardcore dummy. I know about CBGB and the bands that played there and stuff, and the Agnostic Front, and You're Sick of It All and what have you. I know about these bands, but I've never really dived into it. So maybe one day you can teach me a bit more about that.
I'll tell you a Canadian hardcore band to start out with. Comeback Kid.
Oh shit! I thought you were gonna say Linus Morissette. Comeback Kid, yes. My friends love that band. I should check them out. They just played in Vancouver, and a bunch of my friends went to them, and I've heard that they just burned the motherfucker down. So,
dude,
I'll check it out.
I think
every show they play, no matter how many kids are there, it's an epic show, and then you get pile-ons and sing-alongs, and it's a fun show, and all their music is catchy. Wake the Dead is like that album, start to finish. It's by the time you get into it, it's over because it just flows that smoothly.
I'm pretty sure we did, when I was in Blacklist Royals, we did a South by Southwest show at Red 7 with Comeback Kid. I have to find that. I think I still have that like little laminate or whatever that we got, because I want to say Comeback Kid was on that bill. Hot Water Music, I think, was on that bill.
Nice. I saw them with Bouncing Souls and Kamloops somewhere back in the 20s.
Yeah. I saw Bouncing Souls and H2O here in Buffalo. That was a great show. Yeah.
Jealous.
Comeback Kid, I will check that out. But we've talked about Comeback Kid. We've talked about Sum 41. There's an elephant in the room, a Canadian elephant. Okay. All right. And it's a little band called Billy Talent, buddy.
Fuck yeah.
I would forget about them, man. I'm sorry. Yeah. They did. They were on.
That's the guy. They did Warped Tour? Okay, cool.
I'm pretty sure they did. Yeah.
They did, and that's where I've seen them, because I had seen them and I couldn't remember where, and I swore they played Nashville at one time, and I may have seen them at Nashville, I think, but I know it was Warped Tour I seen them on.
Yeah.
That was another one of those bands where in high school, like, they were popular and Sum 41 were popular, and those bands never stopped being popular.
No.
I know Billy Talent was more Canadian.
They're Canadian, right?
Simple Plan's back at it now. We do not claim them, unfortunately.
Okay.
See, I'm still being a fucking jerk about music, but whatever. If you enjoy it, if somebody enjoys it, I don't want to yuck your yum. That's fine. Enjoy it. Simple Plan's not one that I've been into, but Billy Talent was another one where I kind of back in the day was like, oh, Billy Talent, gross, what is this stuff? But then I saw them live with Sum 41, and they blew me away with their performance. One guitarist, one bassist, and a dedicated singer, like hold the mic singer. And their sound was so huge. So I've got a lot of respect for them now.
There's a lot of those bands that I've heard, and I was like, but then I see them live, and I'm like, oh fuck yeah, they transform you. You see a band live, you're like, one, either they reproduce live what they have on their album, or they got so much energy, and their stage presence it sells me, So
hell yeah, and to be open-minded enough to change your opinion when somebody presents you with evidence, whether it's a band's live performance or basic facts. It's a good skill to have in life. So props to us for being able to grow and accept new music and admit it.
So who are you keeping up with the Stanley Cup?
The Stanley who?
The Stanley Cup finals.
Stanley Cup finals, is that the big soccer game?
NHL.
Oh, so like football. Oh, Canadian football. Oh. No, I'm not. I couldn't be fucked.
Not a hockey fan.
Not a hockey fan. People come up to me. I'm just giving you a hard time, of course, Stanley Cup, but no, I'm not a fan. So I just came up with my name because it's a stupid pun. And people come up to me at shows and they want to talk about hockey. Like they really want to talk about hockey. And instead of telling them this, I just kind of fake my way through it. So it's a lot of nodding and repeating what they're saying, but a little bit different. And then like throwing in basic cursory knowledge that I have. And it's been pretty successful. 9 out of 10 times it works.
Yeah.
Totally.
I do the same thing when people want to talk about guitar gear or music gear in general. I'm just like, oh, okay, yeah. I've got this cable and it's S957, Cuisinart, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool, yeah. I bet that's rad.
Are you not a gearhead, Eric?
I am not. I mean, if it makes my guitar, sound good, cool.
Eric, this is what you tell him. This is what you tell him, because this is what I tell him. Sorry, Russ.
No, you're good.
When somebody asks you about your gear, you just say, I don't know what it's called. I just know the sound it makes when it takes a man's life. And you look them dead in the eyes, and they'll just kind of be like, oh, okay, I guess he doesn't want to chat about gear. I appreciate my gearhead friends because they help me out. Shout out, Bobby.
Yeah, for sure. No, I love mine too.
I don't mind talking about it with them, but when randoms come up and just like, I want to talk a lot about gear, it's the same thing. I glaze over. Cool, man. Cool. How much did that cost? Okay, nice. I'll have to try it.
Yeah. It's like, I wish I had that much money to spend on
no shit
or a cable.
When all the bands I were ever in, if my guitar player was like, you should get this for your bass, I'm like, cool, how much? I'm like,
what?
And you're like,
how much?
Yeah. Oh, okay. I'll think about it. Right now, I just like the gear I have, and it took me for so long to understand that even though you have a big ohm and you had a small ohm, you can't put the small ohm into the big ohm, because even though it's a 4, you can't put it into the 8. And I'm like, well, why not? It's a smaller number.
I still don't know that. I'm glad I'm learning this now.
I don't. Yeah. And I've blown so many fucking cabs over my life, and that's the reasoning behind it.
Oh, dude, that my friend I was talking about, Bobby, like I was at another show with him, and he knows about amps and gear. And I was borrowing somebody's stack in my head. And he was like, maybe you better turn that off or not turn that on or something. And I guess the way I had it rigged up, he was like, if you had to turn that on, it would have exploded his fucking head or something. I was like, oh, dude, like I'm so glad you know about this shit. Like,
yeah.
Well, and I didn't know the difference between a speaker cable and a guitar cable. I thought it was just a cable's a cable, but apparently no, it's not. So.
They both leave the same marks, though. If you're getting flogged with one, like, no.
Well, Duane, it's been cool time chatting with you, my friend. I want you to tell everybody on the interweb where they can find you.
Alrighty. You can find me in a town near you if you live in one of 6 towns that I'm playing in this month. And you can find me on Instagram at Duane Regretzky. My record label is High End Denim Records. You can find me in the roster section on there. After about 4 months of prodding management, they finally put me up on the roster. 4 months after my record came out. Shout out Josh.
I'll talk to the guy. Yeah, but I know somebody over there. I'll talk to him for you.
Totally. No. Yeah, I appreciate them and everything they do over there. And then we got the podcast, Denim Radio. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, Spotify, Bandcamp, outside of your window, softly crooning. That's where you can find me.
Nice.
Well, if you're not there now, I don't know who the hell's outside my window.
Is somebody knocking at your door, dude?
It's a Mountie.
Yeah.
On a Razr scooter.
This has been fun.
Yeah.
Ramsey on a Razr scooter. Fuck. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sure it is. Playing the kazoo.
Ukulele.
Playing the ukulele, man.
And also he's pissing his pants violently at the same time.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. He's just on there doing all the things.
Well, I do appreciate your time, Duane. It's been fun, man.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, thanks for hanging out for sure. I'm gonna go have some vegan IKEA meatballs.
Okay. So. That sounds delicious. And there's more stuff I want to talk to you guys about. We'll save it for next time. And thank you very much for having me on. And I'm going to check your guys' band out one more time. Your band's name, Eric, I'll write it down.
We've got No Concern.
Yeah.
And then I was in a band called Lonesome Town Drifters.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, Eric, are you going to keep going? Is this
a long
list?
And
Blacklist Royals. That was the band that I toured all over the great United States, Canada, Germany, UK.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm going to check all that stuff out and take it under. So sounds good, boys. Until next time, maybe we'll be seeing you soon on the water cooler or something like that.
Cool.
Don't go anywhere, guys. Don't go anywhere. Peace out.
Okay.
Later.